Well, we are back once again for the Midwest eSports Formula One Racing League every Thursday night. We're here for Division 1 tonight. We covered Division 4 last week. all 4 divisions race at the same time on Thursday. So there are, 80 racers out right now. We already have 16 queued up for Division 1, and it's going to be a very exciting race tonight.
Yeah, tonight we are in beautiful Spain in the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. I thought I was going to nail it, but, happy to do it now before qualifying. We are in Barcelona in Spain. This track is one of my favorite to ride in F1 23, and with the new updated track layout, it's going to be interesting. There is so much more speed, so many more opportunities for just downright overtakes and some gnarly head-to-head action here. So again, we are in D1 this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Bob. Hey, Zerk, Alex, Lancy. What's going on? We're in D1, so this is the cream of the crop. This is the top of the league. You can't get any better than this at MidWest eSports, and we are happy to be calling the action for these racers tonight.
And these are, like you said, the best of the best. They run with none of the assists on in-game. You have the full list. I know they don't use traction control. They don't use braking assist, all of that stuff. So these guys have just superior handling on these cars, and it's always wheel to wheel almost every single corner.
Yes, and the action stays jam-packed. It stays interesting the entire race, in part to the equal car performance as well. In the video game, you can select either having the power of the teams, so, Red Bull is going to be a faster car than the Haas every time, regardless of what you do, most of the time. But in this league, everyone is racing on equal footing. All of these cars are performing the same. What it comes down to is the way that you are tuning your car, your aerodynamic package, your brake balances, your biases, where you're changing gears. All of that is affecting these cars. So it is the driver's settings, the fine tuning, that is going to determine which car is fastest on the grid. But it's going to keep them all relatively close.
Yeah, and the teams are pretty close in the Constructors Championship, too. We'll dive into that a little bit later on, but the battle for the first 3 positions has been really heating up. Teams have been making some moves, and same thing down at the bottom. I know McLaren has been making jumps from almost at the bottom. They're moved up into 7th, and we'll see a nice little chart later on today. Aston Martin's in 3rd place right now in the Constructors, but they do have the best driver, Skorensny, 538 total points. He is leading this thing.
Yes, yeah, we're going to run down the drivers list here shortly. Mitch has a really nice graphic put together, but we're going to wait until the action starts in qualifying. It is a short qualifying session, meaning there's only one qualifying. If you are a fan of real-life Formula One, you know that there are 3 levels of qualifying, with cars being eliminated as they go for grid order. None of that tonight. It's going to be quick and easy. A one-and-done 15-minute qualifying session. First 10 minutes are going to be the drivers getting their feel out on the track, figuring out what's working in the car, what needs to be tweaked. And then in those last 5 minutes or so, you're going to see most of the grid go out for their hot lap, trying to get as high up in the grid order as possible.
It's going to be exciting to see that. And the race overall is going to be 33 laps around this track in Barcelona. Like you mentioned, they took out the chicane, which sped up the race a little bit. We saw some of the best. I was looking at RaceNet. We saw Sharia was running about a 1:11. You were running a 1:12. You were 1 second behind him. So
I was running a 1:12.8.
Okay.
So
I haven't recorded my lap yet, and maybe I'll do that in the further weeks. Sharia is in our chat, though, saying VTEC for pole. So we'll see if he's going to get that one right. Sharia is running the Red Bull, though, so he does have that fastest car, even though we have equal performance on. I'm expecting big things from him here in Barcelona.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's run down the driver order. While we wait, we're waiting for all of the drivers to load into lobby. Once they get on track, we are going to throw right into the action. But topping the scores here, like Mitch said earlier, in the Aston Martin, it's Skorensny, 538 points, followed in second by Aero Racing Design with 510 in the Alpine, and a Haas in 3rd place. That goes to Posh Josh, 94 with 452. Following them, I'm not going to read all of the scores. I was just going to hit the top 3 with scores. In the Alpha in 4th place, it is none other than VTEC 87, who is in the chat and is calling for a very confident victory today. It's going to be interesting to see how that Alpha performs out there in Spain. Followed in 5th place by a McLaren Houdini 1313. There is a substitution in the second Haas tonight. That 6th position is going to Jorday Hum instead of race day 2016, followed by a Red Bull Lancy 23. I hit it in the comments, but when I'm reading the whatever. After the Red Bull is yet another Alpine. That goes to Nikki 6-4. A Williams EDA got Palmer in 9th in the points so far in the season, followed by both AlphaTauris sitting in 11th and 12th. Those go to Fireballer 20 and 11th and Gunner ADI in 12th. Mercedes GSR Edwin 13th place, followed by the other Aston Martin, that's No Jug, in 14th. Alfa Romeo in 15th place, Electric Blade 9-3 in the Ferrari. In 16th place is Callie Robb. And we go to 18th place in the Red Bull, Sharia Coleslaw. Love the name. I do love some coleslaw. Mitch, do you like a vinegar coleslaw or a cream-based coleslaw?
Depends on what you're eating it with.
That's true. Let us know in the chat what kind of coleslaw we prefer. I do like a vinegar base over the cream base, the dairy base, just because whenever you're in the summertime, it's perfect time for coleslaw. You know, the cream base kind of gets a little weird when it gets warm. I don't want to eat like hot milk, so I always like going for vinegar. Anyway, we have Sharia Coleslaw in the Red Bull in 18th place, followed by 19th place Mercedes, the Johnny Damon. Another Ferrari in 20th. That goes to Scavini 720. The McLaren, Helgian 4.
Good job. I'll go for it. I'm not really looking at the list.
And finally, in the last spot on the standings on the grid tonight is going to be the final Williams. That is a substitution. Originally, that seat went to Guitar Man Khan. It is now being occupied by MMR Cowboy 96. That is your grid. Who shows up for the race remains yet to be seen, but it looks like we're going to be throwing to that action here momentarily. But let's take a look at the Constructors' Championship. Looking at the weather reports, and yeah, it might be a rough qualifying session. Hopefully it clears up for the race, but we may be looking at a wet track today.
It is right now. It is absolutely downpouring. JL Skivnicki is saying wet qualification, dry race. So that's going to make it a little bit interesting because driving on wet, obviously very different. You're going to be using those wet tires, and that's going to impact the grid before we start the race. Hopefully it does start just bone dry out on the track for them so they can choose the tire of their liking.
Yeah, well, here we go. Qualifying is starting, and yeah, you don't want to bang your car up during these qualifying sessions, so it's going to be very interesting. Like you said, one, to see the times, and then to see who actually does qualify on top. Different drivers perform better in dry, different, in versus wet. Not necessarily wow, what am I trying to say? Scarenzi in first place for the Drivers' Championship may not be the best performer in the wet, so it may not line up. The grid order may not line up compared to the points.
All I know is I'm very excited to see how this happens. And we have MMR Cowboy. He is the first one out on the track, first on his outlap, so I expect he'll be the first to throw down a time, really set the stage for the rest of the boys out here.
Last minute substitution, first man on the track. You gotta love it. Love that bright yellow helmet inside of that Williams.
Absolutely beautiful. Also had some other predictions. Peter Di Giovanni said Scarenzi in first place, No Jug second, Got Palmer in third is his prediction. Someone else said Jug's got to show up first, and then someone calling Coleslaw a sandbagger. So they usually like to go out there and set slower times and then just absolutely dominate when it becomes the race.
Hey, I hear that. And again, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that during qualifying. Like, this qualifying session might not be the end-all be-all for the race, especially if we're going to the dry. It is going to be an all-out brawl in these first couple of laps. I know in D4, the race that we covered last week, there was a big bunch up in the first couple of corners in Austria, the Red Bull Ring. That is, just online racing in general. But, it really changes the dynamic of the pack. So we'll see. We have a very long straight here in Spain, so hopefully those cars can get sorted out and we get some good racing in the first couple of laps.
This one is, almost a slide there from MMR Cowboy, and he's going to pull off the track into the dirt, I think, to let GSR Edwin through, but that's going to bring out a caution flag in Sector 2. Should clear up pretty quickly if he's able to get back on track. See, he's just going to take his time, wait for his gap. Just kind of stay off to the side right now. We've got a lot of drivers coming up behind him.
Yeah, good form here. Good form. Collisions are 100% on, especially in qualifying. So it's very important not to spin anyone else out and ruin what could potentially be their pole-setting lap.
This is what you like to see in racing and online leagues compared to just regular ranked multiplayer or other multiplayer. Leagues tend to hold themselves to very high standards. So MMR Cowboy pulling off to the side, making sure he will cause no issues for any other racers before he's able to come back on. You can see him getting on the track now, so we are all clear. Electric Blade setting the fastest lap with a 1:26, but Scarenzi going with a 1:25.5 in the Aston Martin shortly after.
Again, just for reference, some of the fastest laps that we have seen from the pack, Scarenzi was able to secure a very confident 1 minute 11 seconds as their fastest lap listed on RaceNet online. That is in time trials, not a race time, but still a 1:25 following that up really shows you how gingerly these drivers need to maneuver their cars around this. Let's call it what it is. This is an ice rink right now.
It is. They are sliding all over the place, especially with that no traction control. We now have GSR Edwin coming through in the section where we removed the chicane, so it is much higher speed. I was also a fan of driving through the chicane just because, you had to hit the curb, and you could spin that car out so easily. But now it's a very great place to pass as you cross the finish line.
Yeah, it was a wonderful technical section of the track. It was an iconic chicane in the F1 season. However, it really bled a lot of the speed coming into the over the finish line, and I think that was kind of what they were going for. Is you want very fast, intense racing. You want to have that photo finish where both drivers are able to push as hard as they can coming up to the line, and that chicane really just bled a lot of that speed. We have another fastest lap set by Scarenzi. That's a 1:24.9. Increasing ever so slightly, but he is increasing.
He was cooking out there, and now we're going to watch Aero Racing Design in the Alpine to see if he's going to be able to improve on that time. He is holding on to 4th place right now. It looks like Gott Palmer or Lancey just jumped up above him, just catches that slide, and he's coming into the final section. But we have another caution flag on the main stretch, all clear, and it's now moving to the end of section 1.
Yeah, odd. It looks like, is that DRS detection on the map that I'm seeing, or is that the caution bubble right there in the end of Sector 1?
That is, I believe that's the speed trap.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. There was a yellow. Okay, hey, I play the game. I know how to read the map. Hi, hey, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, just because we're seeing cautions being thrown on the track does not necessarily mean a driver has completely tanked their car. This could just be spinning out around one of the corners, losing control and throwing themselves into the sand, bowing off of the track. I'm not sure how delicately they have the safety car set in the league right now, but the car decides to bow out. If the lap isn't what they want, they know they have someone setting a fast lap behind them, they may duck out of track limits, and that may throw a caution flag as well. So if they're
Oh, it looks like we just had another one there too, where a driver just slowed down to let someone that was actually setting their lap through, and it triggered the caution. So everyone's still able to just go out there and sit their fastest time. The Haas.
Oh. Posh Josh having some trouble there. Third place in the series so far in the championship. Coming into Sector 3 there, it is a difficult track out there, especially as you get deeper into Sector 3. There are some very tight turns before those two, turn 13 and 14, those two final curves that are very reminiscent of Austria, the race that we covered last week, Red Bull Ring. You have turn 9 and 10 there, 13 and 14 here, where it's two rights that are just downright speed. I'm going to be very curious to see what track limits look like in the actual race when it is dry and these drivers can push as hard as they can. Both of those, banking rights. Is anyone going to be bleeding out during turn 14 before they cross the finish on that straight?
We'll see. And this corner is the one that was always messing us up in Formula 122. Not the tightest one on this track by a long bit, but for some reason, that little chicane, it hit the front. I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Yep.
I am so sorry, Scabney. That is all on me, and you can see he's going to have to back, but watch out. Here comes the Williams.
Oh, no! A little bit of love there as we brush the Qatar Airways signs after. This is going to be brutal.
Scavney just caught a five position grid penalty for that. You could see he pulled back out onto the track, or was pulling back out onto the track. Thought he had a clear spot and then started to go back forward. But by that point, the Williams had committed to going into the grass to avoid the crash, and they collided.
That's racing. That little chicane, that little feature that we were just talking about that we just saw is one of the most delicate. I don't really know. I'm kind of talking from personal experience. Another fastest lap sent by Lansley is a 124.8, I believe, 897. That corner is super precise. If you don't have the right line, you are going to lose significant time climbing that hill. It is a very fast straight afterwards once you get to the top of the hill. But yeah, you really need to be pulling over those red rumble strips on the far right, brake slightly, and tuck in to try and keep that first corner as quick as possible. That is, I believe, turns 7 and 8.
It's just a tough one. And the hill, it really blocks your visibility on the exit of the chicane. So it's hard to judge when you can step on the gas to try and keep that speed up as much as possible. So you could punch it and then realize you're going to run out of room. And as you're cresting the top of the hill, your car is going to lift. So you're losing traction at that point. And you see it right here. Would lose traction and the visibility and the rain. It's just a horrible spot right now.
Yeah, all of this is rough. Jordan Hum, right as you were starting, a little bit of oversteer there, throwing those back tires out just a wee bit. This is another very slow section, but you can gain speed if you hit this delta exactly where it needs to be.
This is a fun one, too. This corner can be taken a bit faster than you feel at first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that right now. He's going to pull over and pass. So that did trigger a caution flag as well, even though he was just letting someone through. Doing the nice thing, but Posh was going right to the pits, so maybe not quite necessary, and he almost caught the wall on the entry.
Right now, as it stands, 7 minutes remaining in qualifying. Again, short qualifying. This is the one and done qualifying session before the race. We have a Red Bull with Lancy up in first, in pole position, followed by Scarenzi in second. Why is Scarenzi grayed out? Just pit? No, what's...
Good question.
Okay, well, in third place, possibly second, we have a Ferrari that is none other than Callie Robb holding it down. Yeah, not sure what that grayed out second place is. Hopefully, Scarenzi is able to participate in the race. That would be tragic if we lost the Drivers' Champion leader right now before the race even began.
We'll see. Everyone's posting in the division chat right now. We are on board with Nicky, though, seeing if he can improve on his 126.123. A lot of drivers just on the edge above him, so he should be able to make up just a little bit there. And we have 6.5 minutes left in qualification, so enough time for 4 more laps if you just started one. I imagine most people might be pitting, putting some tires on, coming out, and then hitting that one final lap to see if they can speed up.
I'm gonna message the chat here. Please pardon my noob question. Scarenzi, you out for good?
You all right? Look how foggy it is in there too.
Yeah, it is rough out there. I do not envy these drivers. I mean, they're fighting for, league fame and their right to be called the Division 1 champion of Midwest eSports Formula 1 racing. But to have to deal with wet conditions before a dry race, it's very difficult because you want to use qualifying as much as possible to get a feel for the car, get a feel for the settings, the track, to kind of just know what to expect as you head into the actual race. You guys are kind of going in blind. They're getting a feel for the track layout, but that's about it. The soft tires, the slicks, are going to perform differently than the intermediates or the wets. So it's always a bit of a gamble. But yeah, not fun whatsoever going into a race blind like this.
I think we found out the answer there too. Scarenzi saying out of the quali session, DNFing in the quali. So I think if you DNF, you have to sit out until the actual race. He's holding that second place strong though. And he's got 0.153 seconds over third place. So that one might just hold. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to improve on what Lancey said and beat him by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, but yeah, what a commanding statement. What a statement that is if Scarenzi is able to hold second place, even though he DNF'd before the halfway point of this qualifying session.
We also have Benny joining the chat. I believe that's our Benny from Riders Republic and Skeet, maybe, I believe, but he loves the racing commentary. And he pointed out that we have 2 PlayStation players over PC players. I don't know how much of an impact that makes in Formula 1. I know a lot of people they're super serious, they play on PC, so I don't know if there's any technical advantage on that side, but we love to see PlayStation on top.
I do know, speaking of PlayStation, I do know Edwin racing in one of the Mercedes had some issues with his PS5 fan today that just decided to stop working on him, so he is racing on Edgar's PS4. Thank you so much, Edgar, for lending another system to a competitor here. But he's just saying the FPS, the frame rate drops between the PS4 to the PS5 are significant. So hopefully that won't have too much of an impact on today's race. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be pixel perfect by any means as he is racing down a console tonight.
Yeah, that does take a lot to get used to. Sometimes if you switch from performance mode to graphics mode and drop the frame rate, it just messes with your mind. Hopefully he can recover from that.
As we take a look at Houdini sitting 5th place, trying to set another fast lap. Lancey holding strong in pole position in that Red Bull. And looks like we have a little bit of oversteer there. Houdini's McLaren. Not surprising whatsoever. Like I said, these final couple of corners are going to be absolute rippers. Wet, dry, doesn't matter. These drivers are going to be pushing as hard as they physically can between those turns 12, 13, and 14, minus that chicane feature this year.
We have a new fastest lap, too. We have Cali Rob 187 with a 1:24.651. So getting 0.2 of a second over Gott Palmer. And then we got Lancey. Oh, Gott Palmer jumped up there too.
Yeah, so I was just going to say.
Rob, Gott Palmer, Lancey, and Scarenzi dropping into 4th now, unable to improve on his time.
Still not a terrible position for Scarenzi. Again, leading the Drivers' Championship. 4th place still leaves a lot of room for strategy. We have 33 laps coming up in this race, and all of these drivers will have to pit at least once to change their tires to comply with race regulation. Which means if he plays his cards right, he may be able to gain a couple of those spots, if not by pure skill, by some very strategic pit planning.
And these might be the final lap, or maybe they'll squeeze one more in. We can see, I believe it was Lancey had just started. Gott Palmer and Cali Rob are out on their laps. We'll go up to Cali Rob to see if he improved, but it looks like he, after Sector 2, is over his original time. Not sure if he's going to improve on that, but he's coming up to the final corner.
Let's see, as we turn into turn 14, into the finish straight. We're going to cross the line. Nah, it's going to be slow. That was a 1:29, not going to do it to improve. But it looks like Palmer was able to improve in that Williams car with the 1:24.4. Wow. These cars, they're starting to cook up.
Yeah, he took over first place, and Lancey is out there. And after Sector 2, 4/100ths of a second, improving on his time. So he might be able to take pole position now.
This could be it. There is something going on in the straight line in Sector 1, but that is of no concern to Lancey right now. Coming into Sector 3 here. Let's see what this time. That's quick. That's quick. Not enough. Ooh. Just
enough to improve on Cali Rob, though.
Come on, we got a 0.6, just 2 behind the leader. Lancey, I'm sure, still happy with that second place start. What could be a second place start. We still have a few seconds left. Drivers making sure they are on track to finish their final chance at qualifying.
Going through the rest of the drivers, seeing if they improve at all. Not much movement there, but we do. Looks like everyone's out for one more lap. 3 minutes remaining now. Looks like we got a little bit more time. So we'll have more people out on their laps. Just one more shot at taking pole position.
Yeah, this is critical, and here we go. Now we're going to start to see the times roll in. Call Rob taking pole with 1:24.369. Nice call, Rob, in that Ferrari. Sitting pretty up in first.
Palmer stopped in the pits. Maybe he's going to put on tires and try and get one more. I should have just enough time. And Lancey had improved as of Sector 2, so he might also improve on that time. Now the top 4 actually are all half a second apart.
This is a little squeaky right here, right? A little sneaky. All these guys trying to improve. It's could get a little hairy here.
I know it always happens right at the end, and Lancey improves on his time, but still, just jumps over Got Palmer, 0.490 to 0.493. 3/1000ths of a second separating those fellas right now.
Again, I still have to point out Scarenzi sitting in 5th place, even though that is a DNF during qualifying. Sitting 6th place as Call Rob sets another I can't read.
It's all right. Aero Racing jumping into 9th place as he crosses the finish line. We just have a few racers left to go. You can check out GSR Edwin. Who else is out in front of him? Well, most of those drivers, looks like several of them are out. So he might be the final one out on the track that can actually set a time at this point.
Yeah, Edwin, the PS4 warrior here.
And he goes into the pits, so he won't be improving on that time. He was already at a 150, so I don't think he was going to crack pole position anyways.
Well, it's looking like this is our unofficial grid for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. Race number 7 out of 15 for MidWest eSports Formula 1 Division 1 2023.
This one is going to be exciting, and we heard there's going to be some nice sunny weather. Hoping that the nice sunny weather happens too. I want to see we haven't watched Division 1 race yet. We covered D4 last week, and that was our first race that we've seen so far from this league. I can just imagine the competition that we're going to see in this one. And yeah, that's going to do it.
Hold on to your butts. Racing action coming up next on Nick and Mitch. Gauche. Welcome, sim racing fans, to the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, home of the Spanish Grand Prix, and tonight, the 7th stop on the 2023 MidWest eSports Formula 1 calendar. As we approach the halfway mark of the season, eyes are shifting to points and an impressively tight race for first. It's still very much anyone's title, and with a new track layout in Spain this season, it's a true toss as to who will stand atop the podium tonight. The teams are ready to go, and so are we. Buckle up, folks. This is MidWest eSports Formula 1 Division 1 on Nick and Mitch. Welcome to race day again from Nick and Mitch. It's us. Who else?
We're the ones, we're always here on the channel. And we have the beautiful sun shining now in Barcelona. We can see pit lane. Everyone's inside the garage right now. You can see some of the pit crew at Red Bull Racing chilling inside. You can see those shoes pointing out. They are ready to watch the start of this race.
I'm sure someone in that grid is showing someone else the video that was posted by Red Bull today of Checo Perez ripping through the casinos in Vegas as we prepare for the real life race in Vegas. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It was cheeky. It was a lot of fun. But the action is not in real life today. It is on the servers of Formula One F1 2023. These are all cross-platform racers, I believe, right? This is not just PC. We have PS5, PS4 today, if you can even believe that. Division 1 racers running on last-gen consoles. That's how good some of these drivers are.
These guys are super serious. And like we said earlier, it is heating up at the top. Teams to watch for today: Alpine in first place, AlphaTauri in second, Aston Martin in third. And then we have Haas, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, Ferrari, Williams, and Mercedes. The driver to watch is Scarenzi, who qualified, I think, fifth after DNFing. Wasn't able to improve on his time, but he is still first in the driver championship with 538 points. And then we have Aero Racing Design in second and Posh Josh in third.
And these racers are not just racing stock Formula One settings, folks. They have pretty much all of their settings and their assists turned off, meaning these folks are driving a manual car. And if you are not familiar with sim racing, this is quite the feat. This requires so much practice, so much precision. I cannot, for the life of me, turn off any of the assists yet. I've been racing for just about a year. I can set a pretty competitive pace where I am, but to say that I can compete with these guys is, well, that would be a bold-faced lie.
It would be. You know what I have found after sim racing, though? I hold my fingers slightly off the steering wheel, expecting a paddle to be behind all of my steering wheels now. Even when I'm driving the boat, I'm expecting paddles so that I can just shift up, shift down. And sometimes I sit there pretending, oh, here's Barcelona, so we're going right, we're going left, we're going right, going through the whole track.
Yeah, I have a couple on my commute to work. I do have a little course set up. My exit ramp, I have that chicane dialed in perfectly. Little over the line on the left, little over the line on the right. These guys are dead set on the track. Lights are on. We are getting ready for racing action, and we are away in Spain. Cali Robb up in first place as we head down this first straight.
And this is going to be a battle. We have the Red Bull, Lancey, and Gott Palmer in the Williams battling through the chicane. Who's going to hold that? We already have a caution flag. I don't believe, maybe at the very end, Electric Blade and Sharia Coleslaw seem to be tangled up. Are they able to get out of it, though? It looks like they are driving away from that.
Good. Yeah, we don't want to see any cars bowing out in the first lap of this race. Lancey able to pull that Red Bull in front of Gott Palmer's Williams in that head-to-head race as we went up the hill through turns 3 and 4. That was a great battle for second place. But call me Rob. I don't know why I want to keep saying that. Cali Robb is has a commanding lead of this race.
He does, and he's starting to pull away. Of course, he's hoping to get over 1 second before the DRS kicks on so he can hold that position. We should also check the tires that everyone is rocking right now. We both have Cali Robb and Lancey on softs, Gott Palmer on medium, VTech on soft, and then Scarenzi and Posh Josh on medium. So a nice little mix to start off.
Yeah, it seems about right, and the eyes, of course, are on our driver champion as we stand this moment in 5th place, Scarenzi, rocking those medium tires. So again, it's going to come down to that pit strategy. When do you call it? When do you duck into the pits? Are you able to gain a position or two if you're able to outlast some of those front leaders like the Ferrari and Red Bull, both on soft?
Let's go on board with our current driver champion, Scarenzi, because he has been just holding around the 1 to 2/10 gap behind Gott Palmer. I'm expecting him to look for an opportunity to do this takeover, and he might do it when you have Gott Palmer trying to battle past VTech.
Yes, this could get very interesting as we head up this hill again. This is that very, very difficult, you kind of have to like Surgeon General just feed the line there through. But now we have, I don't know what I'm saying. Now we have the top of the hill straight line as we go into the slow arch of this right.
he's gaining a little bit of speed in this corner too. These guys are just absolutely packed in. The top two are pulling away from third place, though, so those boys are just taking off. If Scarenzi takes a little bit to actually get past some of these guys, it might be too late for him to catch up, unless something else happens on the track. Cali Rob setting the fastest lap right now with a 1:14.476, and holds that fastest lap out of at least the first 6 drivers crossing through the finish line.
That is definitely a beatable time as we proceed through this race. 1:14 by no means is the fastest lap set on this track in F123, but you know, racing is different than time trials, so it may hold, but I'm very skeptical to call that the fastest we'll see today.
We will, and it seems like everyone's still holding quite close together. We do have Gunner in the pit. Might have been in the collision a little earlier on, just right in turn 1 at the start of the race. When you got 18 drivers, bunched up, sometimes it's just unavoidable.
Scarenzi still holding a very fair pace with the cars in front. As we move down the grid as well, we see a little bit of fight down in 12th place. The Ferrari fighting the replacement driver. That feels dirty to call him that, but it's the truth. Last minute substitution in the Haas, Jordi Hum.
It's a good way to mention how the league works. So they have 2 drivers in each division for divisions. Now, if someone in Division 1 can't race for some reason, then the driver on their team in Division 2 or Division 3, they can step up to race for them. In this position, Haas, right, the replacement driver? Jordi?
Yes, correct.
Yes, so Jordi's points will go to Haas in the Constructors' Cup for Division 1, and then he will take those driver points back with him. So he does get a bit of a bonus for competing at a higher level, and his team, since they are able to fill that seat for tonight, can still get some points on the track, even if the driver isn't, they're the top 2 that they have right now.
Hey, and don't forget honor, right? Jordi Hum taking back the honor of driving up a division. I'm just trying to make something up. We have both of the McLarens as Mitch is cycling through the pack here. Both McLarens sitting in 9th and 10th, very comfortably there. Looks like the teammates kind of just hanging out mid-pack there. But Scarenzi still on the hunt, has not dipped below the 3/10 interval behind, sorry, I'm trying to read very small font, VTEC.
Yes, and I was trying to pull up the fastest lap overall at Spain in a race for this league, but in all the previous years, the chicane was there, so it is a 1:17. So he's going to set the new record for the no chicane Barcelona track, whoever walks away with the fastest lap today.
I didn't even think about that. What a cool stat. Today, a record will definitely be set as the fastest lap in Spain, with that little asterisk up there next to it.
Chicane.
No chicane, no chicane. We talked in qualifying, but Mitch, you were a fan of the chicane for the technical aspects. I was not.
I don't know. I just like driving in the corners sometimes, and that one was, it takes a lot to try and hit that one perfectly and keep the wheels on. I just think it feels really good as a driver if you are able to hit one of those super technical spots. And the chicane at Barcelona, that's one of the notorious corners. It's like the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a very true statement. Well, it's gone. You'll never race it ever again.
Until next year.
Until next year when they give the option to put it back in.
What if they just asked the drivers before the race whether they wanted it or not? Like, last minute.
Okay, all right, here, hang on a second.
Last year's winner gets to pick up the chicanes in.
I'd love that even more. If the driver retires, it is up to the winning team from the Spanish race. What if, like rally racing, what if we work the chicane in as a joker lap, where you may have to hit it, maybe not once, but like 3 times through the race? It's very similar to like you have to change your tire composition once through the race. You need to take the joker lap with the chicane once or twice through the race. That might be an interesting element.
I feel like that would get a little bit messy in Formula 1 with the speeds that these guys are carrying. But we can welcome Bone Crusher into the chat too, one of our executive producers. I had to think of the title.
Hey.
Glad to see people coming over watching some racing action. And Scarenzi had moved up into 4th place. We also have Lancey still holding behind Cali Rob. He's holding about a half-second gap He does have the DRS, so he should have just a little bit more speed. We'll see if he can hold that. MMR Cowboy gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So we'll have to see if that's track limits or not. See where he is right now.
Ooh, doing a little driver shuffle here. Yeah, Cowboy sitting down in 15th. That may very well have been a track limits penalty. I mean, if we watch part of this race, we may be able to tell. Again, those very quick corners heading into the final sector of the track do get very difficult, especially if you're sitting 15th and you're trying to claw your way back up through the grid. You're pushing as hard as you can. You may just be pushing out. I'm also not sure what division Cowboy races in. But there may be different settings that are allowed, assists that are allowed that he may not be used to in D1.
There are different settings depending on different divisions, so you will see that when they're looking for a driver to jump up last minute, they'll ask what settings do you play on, or are you able to play on it, because you don't want to bring someone up who's used to a lot of the assists and, then has to go into a race with no assists, and that might just cause some issues out on track. Not from them intentionally, but just if they're wiping out or, sliding around, it's going to cause some chaos.
But while we were farting around in the back of the pack, Lancey was able to take first place over Cali. Rob in that Ferrari held it for 6 laps, but no longer. Lancey holding a commanding almost half a second lead over the Ferrari now.
And we have a caution flag on Sector 3. I think it's going to clear up. All the drivers are out and moving. Cali Rob looking to close the gap now, but we do have Gott Palmer right behind in this battle too. So it's going to come down maybe to a 3-way battle right now for first place.
We love to see it. Again, I love equal car performance. You just can't get any better racing than this. These are elite level drivers driving on all of the same platforms with their tiny little, adjustments, their personal adjustments to get the car operating how they personally like to drive it. But you just can't beat this. With DRS, with slipstreams, this is going to be a tight race to the very end.
It is, and Scarenzi is slowly closing the gap too. He was 2 seconds behind Gott Palmer, but now he is just 1.6 seconds behind. Gott Palmer, a little bit of a sneak to see if he could go on the inside, but at this corner, not a great choice because you need to carry some speed. You're almost going 270 degrees around. 180 degrees around. I don't know math.
Yeah, now you don't know math, and I can't read. We are a match made in heaven.
That's all right. We have each other.
Hey, that's all that matters, right?
We also have Aero Racing Design closing in on Scarenzi. He's holding 5th place right now. And he's got the DRS. He's going to go around the outside, and
there it is.
Not going to be able to battle it. He didn't have DRS since he's holding back. So these guys are going to be going toe-to-toe for a little bit.
Yes, we're no experts, but if you're new to the sport and you're watching D1 racing, first of all, welcome and thank you. We're very honored. But drag reduction systems are a very cheeky bit of kit that are on all of these cars, and it is such an advantage, as you just saw Aero Racing putting it to good use over Scarenzi. You can't beat a little bit of a speed boost on the straight.
We'll get a good look on the map right now. They're going to cross through this green circle, which will be the DRS detection zone. If you are within 1 second of the driver in front of you, you'll see their wings open up like the Ferrari did, and you gain some extra speed. The Red Bull in first place isn't able to open it because they're in first. And a little bit of a slide from Gott Palmer, so he's going to lose a bit of distance from Cali Rob.
I was just going to say, the one downside to activating DRS in that straight particularly is that very hard left-hand corner. That might be one of the hardest braking points of this entire circuit. And it, again, is following a DRS straight. So you're entering that with extra speed and then overheating those brakes, or trying to avoid overheating and locking up those brakes as you head into that 180 bend, as Mitch was describing earlier.
And after Aero Racing past Scarenzi, you can see it's closing up now. All of the drivers in the first 6 positions are within a second of each other. So now they all have DRS. So Aero Racing getting by actually helps out Scarenzi because he'll be able to close that gap a little bit quicker on the leaders.
Benny in the chat is predicting Aero will come back later in the race to take this win. And from what we've seen so far, Aero has, I could see it.
Look, he's jumped 5 positions so far in the race.
I mean, that is, if that is not a wonderful drive, I don't know what is.
Yeah, is he the one that was second in the championship right now for drivers?
Yes, he sure is.
He is, so that is why he is battling, and he passed Scarenzi, so that is a very personal feud. We also have Nikki64 in the other Alpine jumping 5 positions, so look at those two. Alpine's gained 10 positions since the start of this race.
Let's go. Who would have thought? I love me a good Alpine. Love to see those pink cars just scooting their way around this track and just owning it.
We get a bit interesting too, as these tires, the soft tires at least, are going to start to wear down. It's about time to start considering a pit change, but Arrow gets one more pass in, goes and jumps up over Got Palmer into 3rd place. So then you'll see the mediums take over those first positions for a while, and if they can get a bit of a gap, it might benefit them when they have to go into pit.
I was gonna say that is one downside of all of the overtakes that Arrow has accrued so far in this race, is those tires have to be wearing at a substantial pace here. So tire management is going to come into effect if he's not planning to hit in the next couple of laps here. It's a 33 lap race, so about halfway through is what you're going to try to be aiming for. That's coming up in about 4 or 5 laps. I would predict you're going to start to see some drivers ducking in to change out those compounds.
Yeah, and these soft tires do, I would say, it depends on the settings, but last around 10 to 12 laps if you're pushing them, I think, on this. So mediums will last probably about half of the race. But you have to do 2 different compounds. So if you do medium, you're probably going to do a medium soft unless you do a soft and hard. But I don't think anyone's going for that right now. We'll see, though, when this first pit stop happens.
Especially with track temps the way they are, you're seeing all of these medium tires performing very, very well out there, holding pace with the softs. So yeah, I would be shocked if anyone went for a hard, unless you decide to pit now for some reason and you want to, run your chances and try to gain some spots as folks are pitting later on in the race. It's a very risky maneuver, but the right driver, it could always pay off.
Could, and there's also, down here in 9th, 10th, 11th, we have another bunch up of drivers where there's some action heating up with Nikki, Houdini, Fireballer, MMR Cowboy, and Jorge, and GSR Edwin, all pretty close to each other. And then we have the distant pack. We either had some pit stops or some spinouts or some caution flags earlier, but these 3 are also very close to each other. I mean, look, the bottom 3 right now in 16th through 18th are all, let's get this interval back up, within 0.2 seconds of each other.
That's the tightest race right now. This is incredible for the back of the pack. I mean, these guys are still fighting for points, right? They're still fighting for their teams. They're not out of contention whatsoever to gain some for their constructors. But yeah, you love to see the back of the pack racing as close as they are. This is still fun. It's still an exercise. And even though they might not be standing atop the podium, they still want to place as high as possible. A 16th place win is always better than an 18th.
And even in this, an 18th place gets 47 points.
Come on.
First place gets 100. So the different divisions, Division 1 has a higher point scale. First place, Division 1 gets 100 points. And then if we're in Division 2, first place gets 85 points.
Okay, so it's a tier. And I think Division 4 was something like 54, 58.
It was 56 points, and 20th gets 10 points. So that's where you have the... if you're a higher division, you get better points no matter what you finish in. So yeah, it's still a battle for points, especially for the teams.
Looks like we have Nikki 6-4 and Coleslaw in the pits. If we could pop up those tire maps once again to see what they are changing to, it's going to be very interesting. Back of the pack again. Those are going to be the drivers that you may see switch to the hards, so they can push as hard as possible and not have to worry about tire degradation for the back half of today's race. Or they went in to fix some damage and they didn't touch their tires.
We'll see. The tires do take a little bit, to update on these. I don't know if it even takes like a full lap. It took a while in the last race we watched too, maybe for spectators to see. See what tires. They still have medium tires on. I imagine, though, you may go more mediums and then throw in some softs here at the very end.
Well, yeah, I apologize. They did change onto those mediums as 0 laps have been completed on that tire compound. So they both switched, I believe, from softs to mediums, right? Can I
think
read?
so.
Did I do that right?
We'll say you did.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the support. And we're starting to see, again, the back half of this grid starting to pit, starting to think about those strategies as we hit lap 14 of the Spanish Grand Prix 2023 Midwest eSports Division 1 Racing.
Toe-to-toe for these two in front of Scarenzi, Aero Racing and Got Palmer. But it looks like Aero Racing
towed into the pit.
decides to pit. Yeah. You don't want to
Right
battle
at the
too
end.
long toe-to-toe, right? At some point, if your strategy's going to pit, you're going to pit.
I wonder if that was the plan all along, or if Aero saw the pit approaching and said, "Yeah, I can take it now." Just decided to
at
duck
that
in.
point,
Right.
you want to do another lap because now Scarenzi's going to go toe-to-toe with Got Palmer, but he's going to pass him, and they're both on medium tires, so he's going to try and take that. But it's again. Oh, and Got Palmer, I think it looked like he went a bit outside, was getting to the track and lost it for a second, so he will have to settle for third. That is going to be crucial because they will be pit stopping probably in the next. Well, they're on mediums. But that will be crucial. You want to be the first one to pit because then you'll be the first one out. So now's the time to make that move. Posh Josh will now be sniffing behind Got Palmer to see if he can take a jump.
Josh putting the pressure on as we head into Sector 3. That was a little squirrely there from Got Palmer. Saw a little bit of understeer, a little bit of tail wagging there after the battle with Scarenzi. But again, Aero was able to challenge both of those drivers, Got Palmer and Scarenzi, into a bit of a challenge as he bowed out into the pit lane. So tires are definitely wearing a bit harder, a bit faster than both of these drivers wanted, I'm sure. And it looks like Posh Josh is going to take second over Got Palmer as Scarenzi takes first.
We had, where'd he go? Cali Robb was in the lead. He went and pitted off of the softs after taking them 14 laps. And he's going to throw on medium tires. We do have a few on hard, though. We have Aero Racing Design, who just jumped up over VTEC, putting on hard tires. He's going to gain another position on Cali Robb coming out of the pits.
It looked like that was a McLaren strategy. Both McLarens going to the hards.
That's an interesting one, too, because Aero pitted first, but he put on hards and was able to get over Cali Robb, who was the race leader. Now, Cali Robb does have the speed advantage on mediums, but Aero Racing could probably take this the rest of the time, and his tires are going to hold out a bit longer.
Yeah, he's going to be able to race a little more aggressively. He's going to be able to take some corners faster. You do sacrifice some grip in the corners and some straight line speed, but they're more durable, so you can beat them up a little harder. You can race a little more intensely than nursing those mediums as we get to the last few laps of the race.
And MMR Cowboy makes a move on Fireballer and then almost slides out. Fireballer is not able to pass him after that. But Aero is going to go into, or Fireballer, excuse me, is going to go into pit lane to swap out those tires. We do have a caution flag in Sector 3. Looks all cleared up, I believe.
Yep.
What's the darker color there at the very end?
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. All the drivers just taking a little break. Got to take a little breather every once in a while. Just dip off the track, come back in safely. But yeah, caution flag waved off.
And we just missed the pit stop. We got more people putting on tires. Have a couple of hard tires out, which is interesting to see how those mediums are going to hold up for the rest of the race. See if those drivers are able to complete just in this one stop. But we will see with our leaders right now, Scarenzi, Posh Josh, Got Palmer, all 16 laps in on their medium tires. And we got 14 out of the soft tires from some of our racers. So they're only 3 laps short right now. If they can make it to lap 19, lap 18 on these mediums, they should be good to put softs on and finish this race.
Yeah, and then we're going to start seeing some fastest lap times. If I'm not mistaken, Cali Robb still holds that 1:14 fastest lap that was set in the first 5 laps of this race. Something I said was not going to happen has happened. I'm wrong yet again. But just as I say it, Lancy takes a 1:14.34 for that fastest on a pair of mediums in the Red Bull.
Absolutely screaming out there in the car. Doing it on medium tires too, so he's still rocking mediums. I think once we get these top 4 on their soft tires, those fastest laps are going to start to tick down.
It's going to be a whole different game. Now, do you think they have enough lead time? Yeah. Do you think they have enough lead time to pit and still retain their lead of this race? They're going to be racing out of the pits.
We got to look at the tire map here too to see. Lancey just put on tires. Aero Racing just put on tires. So the top 3 are currently 14 seconds.
Okay.
That's not
It's
enough
close.
time. I'd say somewhere around 17, 18 seconds. So you're looking at 7th and 8th is where they would come out.
Right, but
and
again,
then 9th is 31 seconds behind. So they should come out 7th or 8th, but they will have the fastest tires and the freshest tires at that point. So they should be able to pick their way through the pack. It just depends. They'll have about 10 laps left in the race.
yeah, they're obviously not holding fastest lap. That belongs to Lancey in 4th right now, but now 3rd. But like you said,
got Palmer going into the
There you
pits to
go.
put on soft tires.
all right, let's see what these top 3 can do as they start to bow into the pits. Got Palmer could not hold on any longer, but it looks like Scarenzi and Posh Josh are in for the long stay on the mediums.
Yeah, I think what I said, 19, 20 laps on those tires, and they would be good. I think some of them were pushing it with 14 laps on softs to open up the race.
Well, we were skeptical about Aero Race changing to the hards, but it looks like it is turning out in their favor. The Alpine now sitting 4th in the race, able to claw their way back up through the pit shuffle.
That is true. I mean, Lancey is going to try and stay out on these medium tires. That's stretching a little bit because he'll be 14, 18, 19 laps on mediums. He could probably make it. Aero Racing will be right behind him, though.
But yeah, I was just going to say, he's being pressured by someone who has the durable tire. They're obviously able to maneuver the hard tires and climb the grid order. So we might see some pressure from Aero on Lancey to wear those tires a bit quicker than Lancey may want to try and force another pit stop so they can finish the race in one piece.
What's your preferred strategy when you're out there racing? I know that's a toss-up, but do you like going hards first, softs first? Do you have a strategy? Do you just pick what the game tells you?
Well, when I'm racing against you, Mitch, I try to get as far away from you as fast as humanly possible because I know you'll catch up and I know you'll pass me by like 2 or 3 seconds within a lap or 2. So yeah, I usually want to start on softs. Now, if I'm in the pack, if I'm not sitting pole or second, I will prefer a medium tire to start the race just so I can be a little more cheeky, a little more aggressive in my driving and then put the softs on to finish it right at the end. Gain as much time as I can with the mediums and then finally put the cherry on top with soft tires at the end. Push as hard and as fast as possible with just a couple of laps remaining. What about you?
I think I do like to put on some mediums or hards at the beginning. Battling, sure, you can get into it. I like to try and last in the battles as long as I can. Not wear out those tires and try to stay out while a lot of people pit to try and jump up as many positions as I can, and then put on some of those fresh soft tires at the end. And we're getting a pass here from a teammate. We have got Palmer jumping over MMR Cowboy and setting the fastest lap at the same time, a 1:13.789.
Yep, these times are going down. It's the first 1:13 we have seen on the day. Wow, just what a lap.
These guys are flying right now. I wonder how much communication goes on between these teammates too in this race. Be interested to see if they sit in a chat together. You see that a lot in Formula One racing, where if a driver is going a little bit faster, the team will instruct him to pass his teammate and the other to let him by to try and play the team strategy.
The old shake and bake. Get right in front of me, let me activate DRS, and let me rip through these straights trying to pick up some time. You and I have been notorious for doing that every once in a while. I'm not sure of the morals behind that, like if that's a viable strategy or not, but you and I have definitely shaked and baked through some online races before, and it kind of works.
I think for what I've seen over, kind of racing history, long stints, that doesn't work out as well as you would want it to work out.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be cheating the system by constantly getting DRS and DRS, but another tidbit that I've picked up. 1:13.652 from Got Palmer, so he set another fastest lap.
He's in the zone right now.
Cooking on these tires.
Yeah, let's take it on board. Can we take it on board with Got Palmer as we see this line? Really want to see
telemetry. See what he's doing in this car. And as I was mentioning too, even though you are racing all these opponents out on the track, when you are racing a car, you are just battling against yourself for 33 laps. You're just trying to set the best lap 33 times. And cars are just like the track. They're another thing you have to steer around or navigate out there. So if you try to get wrapped up in the competition too much, you can hurt your lap time more than just setting your focus and trying to hit your line.
Yeah, on board here now with Gott Palmer. Interesting line. Not as clean, not as straight as I would have imagined, but if it's working for the driver, right? Like, that's all that matters. Doesn't look like the cleanest for me, but that's me.
Bone Crusher in the chat too. Let's see if Gott Palmer can actually set this time.
We have some movement up on top of the grid. Looks like Posh Josh had to bow out into the pits, leaving Lancey to take first place once again, with Aero Racing in now first place as he's able to pass that Red Bull. This is getting interesting up at the top. Callie Robb now sitting in third once again.
I have to go on third position too to get a good view of this battle because they'll all be jockeying for position.
Wow, I'm not sure what just happened there, but there was a bit of a shuffle. Again, Posh Josh dipping down to seventh place. Had to pit, had to change something up there, which gave way to Lancey taking the first place spot. And then we saw a bit of a dance on the scoreboard as Aero, then Lancey, and then finally Aero reigning supreme.
So going to have Scarenzi cruising past VTech 87 to pull into fourth position. Now he's going to be hunting down the top of this pack. Scarenzi also the only one on soft tires in the top. So Scarenzi, Gott Palmer, Posh Josh were all leaders, I think, that had to stop and put on their softs. But they're going to carry them out for the rest of the race. So now the chase is on for everyone on soft to catch up, everyone on medium and hard to hold out. Just 9 more laps to go.
Yeah, 2.7, almost 3 seconds separating third place and fourth, Scarenzi in fourth. That is a heavy lift. That is a tall order for fourth place Scarenzi, the current drivers' champion leader in Division 1, to try and get on that podium. It's going to take everything.
It is. Bone Crusher also in the chat saying the biggest thing to not fight your teammate, let them through and work with them, don't get your elbows out and all that. Well, he hasn't watched us race on the same Formula 1 team in career mode.
Clearly.
Monaco, let's just leave it at that.
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, there's a reason why we now record all of our qualifying sessions. It's because of Monaco. What happened at Monaco? What an absolute mess.
We could do a race where he's our pit crew that's telling us what to do.
Yes.
Because it'll just be a lot of shouting. Gott Palmer getting another penalty. VTech also has a penalty as well. So
that was it was a track limits penalty, I believe, for VTech. And yeah, Gott Palmer looks like he was pushed out just a bit there around the corners. Again, whether or not that was, stewards might be looking at that post race.
Posh Josh, there it is. 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. So now we have 5th, 6th, and 7th all with 3-second penalties off of the leader. That's not going to change too much because GSR Edwin right now 17 seconds behind. So all of those 3 will be fine. Shouldn't shake up the order too much unless they're able to pass Scarenzi, then it would hurt.
Bones in the chat. Yeah, it was not me who hit Mitch. Okay, let's just say that. I had a big old T-bone steak from Mitch Bell in the. What were you running? Was it a McLaren? I think they were both
Aston Martin. Oh yeah, we were McLaren. We got a safety car out.
Oh boy, first one of the race. This is going to tighten things up and make those penalties sting a little wee bit more as we tighten up the pack under a safety car. Looks like there was an issue. Where was there an issue?
I don't see them out there anymore.
Oh. What happened?
3 sec. Oh no, Scarenzi just got a 3-second time penalty and multiple warnings. That will probably do it for him, and he was going to be in prime position after this. Although everyone pitting?
It looks like most of the race leaders are pitting, probably going to put on those softs to end the race. Makes sense. But yeah, that stinks for Scarenzi.
Is anyone staying out? Someone is staying out, I think. Posh Josh stayed out.
Posh Josh sitting pretty up in first right now.
Did stay out, and he's going to have to battle, but you know what? Depending on how long the safety car is, he may only have a few laps that he has to battle.
Now, seeing all of these blanked out soft tires re-entering the track, you, Mitch, as the race leader right now in Posh Josh's Haas, the Posh Josh Haas, do you dip in the next lap and try and swap those soft tires? No, right? Like it's too late.
Leaders, no, you don't, because you're done. You're back in 20th. You just want to stay in first and hold on as long as you can. Ellie also mentioning in the chat that talking about Scarenzi she was cheering for. He didn't have any warnings though, so the penalty should get removed. So the game, sometimes it might not be giving you warnings and then all of a sudden assign a penalty. Of course, the stewards of the league will review all of this after the race is complete. Drivers can submit their viewpoints, see what happened, and then the adjustments will be made. So the actual final standings do tend to take a few days to come out, depending on how clean and how simple the race was to judge. So we would have those results next week.
Virtual stewards, bunch of bums. No, just kidding.
They are fantastic. It's like the FIA watching inside this MidWest eSports Discord server, which is awesome.
Sorry. I did say virtual stewards, not the MidWest stewards. the video game stewards, giving them the warning for the penalty for no reason. Bunch of bums. No,
I was like, whoa.
The Midwest stewards are absolute saints. These guys are not only, I assume they're racing in certain divisions, certain leagues throughout, but they are the guardians. They're making sure that the law of the land is, maintained after the race ends is when their part starts. So, thank you very much for cleaning up all of the loose ends and keeping it as a premium racing league should be.
Bone Crusher just said Nick inserts foot into mouth.
No.
If you have to watch how many times we re-record certain sections of videos we make. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nick foot in his mouth Comito is what they called me in high school.
I wonder how many laps we're going to get on the safety car now. That's going to be good for Posh Josh. It's only going to have to hold on. On lap 27, 6 laps if the safety car goes in right now. Haven't heard anything yet. Tends to come as you cross sector 3, I believe, when it would say it's the safety car's pulling in.
Yeah, even a second place for Aero Racing as well, sitting second in the drivers as of race 7 out of 15 of the season. Second place is going to be very good for Aero over Scarenzi. That is the leader race to be looking out for. What am I trying to say? Those are the two leaders of the Drivers' Championship right now, and you should be focusing on them for points. But Posh Josh sitting pretty up in first. You love to see it. Third place in the Drivers' Championship right now. That's going to help him a lot as well.
Also looking at, where'd he go? Scavney has jumped up 10 positions since the start of this race in the Ferrari, making big moves. And of course, I think that safety car really hurt Cali Robb. You can see dropping 12 positions. He had just come out to put on those soft tires after doing a long stint and was expecting everyone else to have to pit in a lap or two and change out their tires. And then everyone got a free pit stop. And sometimes that happens. It hurts to see. It hurts to watch. Win some, you lose some at the end of the day.
I mean, what a phenomenal race by Cali Robb, though. Definitely a competitor for driver of the day, being able to not only set the first fastest lap of the day, but holding first and staying within contention for so long throughout this race. And like you said, having to bow out to switch out those tires a bit earlier than anticipated, and then getting hit with this safety car. You hate to see it, but again, that's racing, folks.
It is. I'm hoping we get the safety car in. You always just get to see a race end on a safety car. Scarenzi going aggressive to warm up those soft tires. Fernando Alonso out there on the track just weaving. You can see he's goading VTEC into doing the same thing as well.
I mean, there's not much. You're not risking too much by putting these tires under some heat. A little more than you may want to if you had, say, 15 laps remaining. But we only have a handful here. Again, I can't do math, so I can't do 33 minus 28 in my head while I'm also talking about the race. But Scarenzi doesn't have that much longer before that checkered flag is waved. So, yeah, we're going to try and warm those tires up, get them as gummy as possible so they can start ripping. Once the green flag, and it looks like the safety cars are going to be pulling out after this, we're going to be back under green for the closing laps of the Spanish Grand Prix Midwest eSports Division 1 Formula 1 racing.
This is going to be Posh Josh's set, isn't it? So he is just going slow in this final corner. We saw in the Division 4 race after a safety car, some drivers crossing or trying to gain a position before crossing the finish line. Going a little bit wide.
Big old track corner. Limits there.
He was trying to open that thing up after going super slow.
For real.
We're going to have Scarenzi trying to pull on the outside of Lancey. You have all of these drivers bunched up. Scarenzi's going to hold the inside line.
Might have been just the smallest bit of contact there, but there's some visible contact as we head into the winding turn 3. The Alfa Romeo making contact with the Williams of Gott Palmer.
That caused a huge shakeup and allowed Helgelin to just fly through Gott Palmer and Scabney. Saw a little bit of contact, which I think came from not caused by Scarenzi, but him going through caused Scabney to get a little skittish, and a lot of things compiled after that.
It looks like we had a caution waved off there as we enter turn 9 in the first DRS detection zone of
Where has this camera been the whole race?
What? How are you just finding that? We have commentated 3 full-blown races. Was that just a mistake?
No, it's just broadcast cam decided to show us that little thing. And Aero Racing getting aggressive on Posh Josh. Posh Josh, of course, on the oldest soft tires at the top of the pack, so he's also not going to have DRS.
Aero Racing hitting fastest lap as he also has DRS, just absolutely rifling down the finish straight into turn 1, able to take over first place. Oh, and it's going to be a battle.
Sector 3-2.
This is not over. These two
better get moving on the track, otherwise this could almost end, and he looks like he's moving.
Yeah,
that could have been absolute disaster for Posh Josh, losing first position and then a safety car. Very lucky.
That race for first and second there, Posh Josh, just the difference that a couple of feet make in a corner on a delta line. Aero was able to hold what I viewed as the ideal delta, while Posh was just, I would say, a tire's length off, and it was enough for Aero Racing to take almost a half-second lead over Posh after DRS.
And that's going to be tough for Posh Josh to gain back. You can see if he can hold on above Lancey and Scarenzi, who are slowly closing the gap on him too. Aero Racing setting another fastest lap, then got Palmer down in 5th, sniffing behind Scarenzi, so he could also make some moves too.
7th place, Edwin on the PS4 system tonight, rocking an old console, able to overtake the McLaren of Houdini? No, Helgian in 7th now.
Got a very tight race.
It's still tight.
5th and 6th.
7th and 6th, yeah.
Man,
this is all. The action is here. It is here in the Midwest Esports Division 1 Series. It's here on Nick and Mitch live in front of you. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to today's broadcast. Only 2 laps remain before we crown a winner here in Spain.
It is going to come down to that final lap, and you look at the gaps all the way down. Really, almost everyone under a second.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, just what a difference a safety car makes in the grid. This is pure racing, just all out, grip it and rip it for these last 2 laps. Benny in the chat saying if Aero wins this, my prediction was amazing. Yeah, Benny, I hope you had some money on this race, because that is a sweet pot and a sour pot there for Cowboy, taking a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings.
Here we go. Lancey and Scarenzi both passing Posh Josh on those old tires. Don't know if that's the reason why, but it's certainly not helping. And Gott Palmer would be the last driver, I think, that has a chance of passing him, as GSR Edwin in 6th is a 1.8 second interval behind Gott Palmer.
Gott Palmer has pace. It looks like, yeah, this may be an overtake here as we, little bit of traction loss there in the corner by Gott Palmer, hitting those brakes a little too hard, locking up as we head down into one of the trickiest sections of this track, able to keep it clean, heading up the hill now. But yeah, that did, that helped Posh Josh immensely. That tiny little wobble by Gott Palmer was just enough to secure fourth.
Just enough to hold on for right now. Can't believe we're coming down to the final lap here, too.
Maybe not. Switch back to 5th, please.
Oh no.
Gott Palmer spinning out, trying a bit too hard. Oh, my gosh.
See if he can get it back on track safely and avoid the safety car. A little bit of a slide. Able to stay off the driving line. He's going to try and stay in front of the McLaren, but Houdini is able to overtake him.
Yeah, Houdini deserved that position. That was, I don't want to say it was rude, but it was a bold move to re-enter at that speed and at that portion of the track. But yeah, just trying a bit too hard to try and overtake. There was both of those drivers, Posh Josh and Palmer, were both wobbling through those corners. And as one driver wobbled, gained a lead, the leader wobbled and tightened the pack once again. Gott Palmer obviously not able to keep up with pace.
And here is the final battle. Aero Racing holding a 2-second gap in first place, but Scarenzi, Lancey, and Posh Josh all battling for the last 2 spots on the podium.
That an incredible return to the podium. Scarenzi unable to finish, did not qualify in qualifying. Did not finish qualifying. Completed qualifying with a 5th place grid start. Now in 2nd place, Aero Racing sitting on top of the pack. We have caution in sector 3, but it doesn't mean anything. Aero Racing's going to take the win here in Spain, followed by Lancey in 2nd, Helgian in 3rd, Edwin 4th, Scarenzi in 5th, neutralizing their grid start to the finish line, followed by both Ferraris, Posh Josh, Coleslaw Houdini, Jordy Hum, Fireball, Gott Palmer, VTech, Cowboy Nicky, Electric, and Gunner. Yes.
Wow.
I almost got it. What a race in Barcelona. One for the history books. As who took fastest lap?
Let's check on fastest lap. I wonder what happened at the very end there. Gott Palmer took the fastest lap. We'll see that coming up at race control here at the end. And you saw a lot of the drivers in the top positions made some huge jumps from qualifying. And we talked about that. It was raining hard in qualifying, so it's hard to judge who's going to be the fastest in actual race time, because you're racing completely different when it's wet out there.
There we go. Huge heel kick from Aero on the podium. A well-deserved victory, waving the American flag up on the top of the podium in Barcelona-Catalunya. What a wonderful race. Yeah, again, like you just said, starting off with a wet qualifying session. It was anyone's race to win as we entered race day, and Aero Racing just able to pull it out. There were a couple of times where we were focused on their car that you could just see the power. You can see the concentration and the precision that Aero brought today. Ran a damn near perfect race.
And who needs real F1 after watching the top division in eSports F1 battle each other, all coming within seconds of each other at the very top? We have a final look at the grid before the reviews are done, with Aero Racing in the Alpine in first, Lancey 23, Red Bull in second, and Helgelin in the McLaren, in
see, it's place. Hard.
It's hard. Well, I'm going to practice that all week long.
Yeah, and again, the real life, the Midwest stewards, the Midwest League stewards will review the race after the action has concluded today. There were a couple of warnings that we saw, a couple of time penalties that may be negated. This is an unofficial rundown of the final order. Wow, why could I not think of that? We'll have the final information for you as we start next week's race, which is I'm gonna vamp. which is going to take place in the Netherlands. We are hitting that August 24th, same place, same time, a 9:15 start on the East Coast of the U.S. for a hopeful 9:30 lights out in Netherlands. That track, Zandvoort is wide. Is that Zandvoort, correct?
That's Zandvoort. That's going to be epic to watch the esports drivers just throw down on a mess of a track, and then we get to watch the pros do it the weekend after. This league loves right? This league loves to do the real races on the Thursday night before the actual races, which is perfect because you get esports race Thursday, practice session Friday, practice and quali Saturday, and then the race on Sunday. And maybe a sprint race in there, who knows?
Hey, what more can you ask for? 4 days out of the week. Formula One action on Nick and Mitch, on F1, on Sky Sports, wherever you are watching the action. Thank you so much for joining us again on Nick and Mitch. Please subscribe to the channel. We just hit 2,000 followers. Very proud of that. We also do weekly coverage of the Ubisoft title Riders Republic, an extreme sports video game featuring brands like Vans, X Games, the Olympics. It is a lot of fun. Skateboarding, mountain biking, snowboarding, wingsuits. You can't miss it. The action is here on Nick and Mitch. And if you want to contribute to the channel a little bit with a little monthly donation, you can become a member, just like Bone Crusher down in the chat. Our executive producer, Bone Crusher, now celebrating 2 years supporting the channel, to give us wonderful graphics like you see on screen right here. This entire production could not be accomplished without some small donations from our members and the expertise of Mitch. Mitch, I can talk all day long, but you are the nuts and bolts. You are the engine in the machine. You are making this channel what it is. So thank you very much for putting together today's broadcast.
Thank you. I definitely need someone that can just talk and talk and talk and mix up his words and then keep talking and keep pushing me to make some awesome stuff. So it's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much to everyone over at MidWest eSports, including Pork Chops, for keeping everybody in line, Scarenzi for giving us the on-camera, the hosting action, spectating action over in F123, and the rest of the pack for just being phenomenal competitors. I think that's going to do it for today's race. Mitch has gone black, so I think that's my cue. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week in the Netherlands. Take care.